1:52 p.m. on a Wednesday in early July. The phone buzzed in David Porter's shirt pocket while he was bailing the south pasture. Second cutting, late because of rain. The forecast showed more storms Friday, so there was no time to stop. But it was Regional Medical Center. Mr. Porter, this is Dr. Santiago in Emergency Services. Your son Tyler was brought in 40 minutes ago. We need you here immediately. David killed the baler, left it running in neutral. What happened? Silage chopper accident. He's being stabilized now, but he needs surgery within the next few hours. The doctor's voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that came from practice. How bad is it? Life-threatening. I'll explain when you arrive. How soon can you be here? 30 minutes. Come to the surgical wing. Ask for me directly. David was in the truck before the baler stopped moving. Didn't shut the header, didn't close the gate, didn't radio anyone, just drove. Regional Medical was 42 miles east. He made it in 28. Dr. Santiago met him in the surgical prep corridor. Late 50s, gray hair, surgical scrubs already on. No wasted time on small talk. Your son was pulled into a silage chopper feed mechanism. He suffered severe crush trauma to his left arm and shoulder, multiple rib fractures, and significant internal bleeding. We need to operate now to save the arm and stop the hemorrhaging. Then do it. Mr. Porter, this is complex trauma surgery. We're looking at orthopedic reconstruction, vascular repair, and possible internal organ damage we won't know about until we're inside. The estimated cost is $210,000 to $265,000, depending on surgical complexity and ICU recovery time. David heard the number, didn't process it yet. Your insurance, Midwest Farm Bureau, covers 60% after deductible. That puts your responsibility at approximately $90,000 to $110,000. Now he processed it. We need authorization and payment commitment before we can start. Hospital policy requires confirmation within 24 hours. David looked at the clock above the nurse's station. 2:34 p.m. Less than 1 day. The surgery couldn't wait. The money didn't exist. David sat at his kitchen table at midnight with his wife Ann, a laptop, 3 years of tax returns, and a calculator that kept showing him numbers he couldn't fix. Ann had been quiet in the hospital waiting room, quiet on the drive home. Now she was just watching him write figures that didn't add up no matter how many times he rearranged them. Operating line of credit, $156,000 drawn against a $175,000 ceiling, 89%. John Deere 8370R tractor, purchased 20 months ago. $13,200 monthly payment. $214,000 remaining on note. 32 months left. John Deere S790 combine. Equipment line active. $312,000 outstanding. 66 months remaining. New Holland baler. $42,000 owed. 48 months left. 1,280 acres owned. Valued at $4,900 per acre on current assessment. Total value $27 million. Mortgage at $4. $1 million. Net equity to now $17 million on paper. Useless when you needed cash in 24 hours. Checking account $9,300. Savings account $16,800. Already allocated for August chemical applications. David did the math 3 different ways. Got the same answer each time. Needed immediately $90,000 minimum. Available liquid $26 out of $100. Gap, 63rd, $900. Ann stared at the yellow legal pad where he'd written it all out. What about refinancing? Takes 3 weeks minimum. We have until tomorrow at 2:30. The John Deere? Oh, $214,000. Worth maybe $260,000 if I could find a buyer today, which I can't. And even if I could, I'd need to clear the lien first. Then what do we do? David didn't answer, because he didn't know. 20 months earlier, on a cold morning in November, the John Deere dealer had called David's cell at 7:15 a.m. Steve Hartman, regional equipment specialist, 26 years with the dealership, could sell air conditioners to Eskimos, as David's father used to say. David, got a minute? I'm looking at your account. That 8230 you're running is what, 16 years old now? 17. You're burning fuel you don't need to burn. New 8370R cuts consumption by 18%. IVT transmission, full precision ag package, GPS-guided row tracking, adds 15 acres a day to your capacity. I don't need 15 more acres a day. Maybe not, but you need the depreciation schedule before that 8230 becomes a parts tractor. Trade value drops 30% after year 15. You're in year 17. Steve already had the financing structure mapped out. Trade allowance calculated, payment schedule drafted, signature page ready. Look, I can move that 8230, the old 1590 drill, and the disc you've got sitting in the back for a combined trade-in of $87,000. Gets you into the 8370R at $12,900 a month. Locks in current rates before they jump. David had hesitated. The 8230 still ran fine. No reason to upgrade. But Steve was ready with the close. You're farming 1,180 acres now. You planning to stay at 1,180 forever? Because if you want to scale, you need equipment that scales with you. Can't do that with museum pieces. David signed on November 18th. The trade included the 8230 tractor, the 1590 grain drill, a disc harrow, and 2 plows, all loaded on a flatbed the next morning. But David kept the Farmall 560 in the back of the machine shed. Steve had walked past it during the equipment inspection. That thing still turn over? Starts every time. Want to add it to the trade? I can probably squeeze another 4,000 out of it. No. Why keep it? Just taking up floor space. Because it's mine. Steve had smiled. You don't need that museum piece. But hey, your call. David hadn't argued. Just moved the Farmall to the far corner. Covered it with an old tarp. Forgot about it. Until now. Thursday morning at 6:45 a.m., David called Eric Lundgren at Community Ag Bank. Eric had handled the Porter account for 14 years. Solid banker, fair terms. But he worked for a bank, not a charity. Eric, I need an emergency bridge loan. Medical situation, $95,000. Can you help? Keyboard sounds on the other end, then silence. David, I'm looking at your file. You're at 89% utilization on your operating line. Debt service coverage ratio is 1.18. I can't extend unsecured credit at those numbers. What if I put up collateral? What collateral? Your land is already mortgaged at 75% LTV. Your equipment is all under active liens. The John Deere tractor, it's worth more than I owe. Let me check. More keyboard clicks. You owe $214,000. Book value shows $265,000 retail. That's $51,000 equity, except retail value assumes a buyer and a timeline, neither of which you have. David gripped the phone. What about early buyback from the dealer? Buyback offers run 12 to 15% under remaining balance to cover dealer risk and reconditioning costs. You'd still be short. How short? Probably 25 to 30,000, and that's if Steve agrees to take it back at all. David ended the call. At 7:12 a.m., Steve Hartman called. Eric gave me a heads up. Really sorry about Tyler. Kid's a good worker. Look, I ran it through our system. Best I can offer on the 8370R is $188,000 dealer buyback. I owe $214,000. I know. Equipment depreciates fast the first 2 years. Market's soft right now. That's my number. David said nothing. Steve kept going. You're in a bind, I get it, but I can't go higher. If you traded that old Farmall when I offered, you'd have another $4,000 in your account right now. Might make a difference. David hung up. The hospital deadline was 2:34 p.m. It was 7:18 a.m., 7 hours and 16 minutes. David walked into the machine shed at 8:45 a.m. The John Deere 8370R sat in the main bay. 16-inch color display, auto steer, climate control, leather suspension seat, $425,000 new, still owed $215,000, worth less than the note. Couldn't sell it without clearing the lien. Couldn't clear the lien without money he didn't have. The Farmall 560 sat in the back corner under a gray canvas tarp. David pulled the tarp off slowly. 1962 Farmall 560, diesel, wide front axle, red paint faded to bare metal and spots, grille dented on the left side, seat reupholstered in 1987 with vinyl that was now cracked and torn, steering wheel worn down to smooth steel from decades of hands. But the title was in the file drawer in the office. Clear. No bank name. No lien holder. No monthly payment. His father had bought it in 1979 for $6,200. Paid cash from selling a small timber lot. Ran it hard for 26 years. Then David inherited it in 2005 and used it occasionally for light work until the new equipment made it obsolete. But it never failed. Never refused to start. Never asked for anything except fuel and basic maintenance. David remembered sitting at this same kitchen table in 1996, watching his father calculate feed costs. His father had said, "If it's paid for, it's yours. Nobody can take what you own free and clear." David ran his hand along the front grille. Cold steel, pitted rust underneath. No debt, no note, no lien. It didn't owe anybody. David made the call at 9:30 a.m. Walter Briggs, collector and restorer, operated out of a 40-acre shop complex 2 counties west, had approached David at the state fair 15 months ago, asking if the Farmall was for sale. "Walter, this is David Porter. We met at the state fair last year. You asked about my 62 Farmall 560. I remember, diesel wide front. You selling?" "Possibly." "What's the condition?" "Runs strong, original engine. Paint's rough, seat needs work, mechanically sound. I can be there by 11. Walter arrived at 10:47 a.m. in a white Ford F450 with a 30-foot gooseneck trailer. He circled the tractor twice, checked the engine serial number against a reference book he carried, started it cold and let it idle for 5 minutes, cycled the hydraulics, shifted through all the gears, checked the rear axle for leaks. Then he shut it down and stood there with his arms crossed. 62 diesel 560 in unrestored condition is getting rare. Most of them have been parted out or restored beyond recognition. Original paint adds value even when it's faded. I can go 88,000. David's throat tightened. 100,000, he said. Walter studied him. You need to sell this fast. Yeah. And you need a specific number. Yeah. Walter pulled out his phone, made a call, talked quietly for 2 minutes, hung up. 93,000, cash wire today, that's my limit. David looked at the tractor. At the steering wheel, his father had gripped 10,000 times. At the fenders, he'd helped his father paint in 1988. It's just steel, just metal and fuel and air. Deal. Walter pulled out a tablet, typed up a bill of sale. Both men signed it electronically. You okay? Walter asked. I will be. But David's hand was still on the hood. The wire transfer hit David's account at 12:16 p.m. He authorized payment to Regional Medical Center at 12:28 p.m. Wired $93,000 to their accounts receivable department. Tyler went into surgery at 2:15 p.m. 8.5 hours later, Dr. Santiago came out, still in surgical scrubs, face mask pulled down, exhausted but steady. We saved the arm. Vascular repair was successful. 3 broken ribs, 1 punctured lung, but everything's repaired. He'll need extensive physical therapy, but he'll recover. Anne cried. David didn't. Just shook Dr. Santiago's hand. Said thank you twice. Tyler woke up Friday evening. First words were about the baler in the south pasture. Already finished it, David said. Don't worry about the farm. The John Deere 8370R was still in the shed. Payment still auto-drafted on the 15th of every month. The combine still under lien. The baler still financed. The land still mortgaged at 75%. But the Farmall was gone. Walter had loaded it Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m., while Tyler was still in recovery. David had been in the barn doing morning chores, heard the diesel start, heard the trailer ramps clang, heard the truck pull away. He didn't go watch it leave. Ann found him an hour later in the equipment bay. You all right? Yeah. David, it's just a tractor. But he'd already put the tarp away, moved some equipment into the space where it used to sit. The corner looked different now, 8 years later. Tyler graduated from Iowa State with a degree in agricultural engineering, came back to the farm that June, helped David finally trade out of the 8370R for a lower payment used 8295R that ran just as well for 40% less cost. The medical bills had been paid off completely in year 5. The operating line was down to 63%. They'd made it work. Then David saw the online auction listing. Walter Briggs had died unexpectedly. Heart attack at 71. No warning. The estate was liquidating everything. 78 tractors. 50 years of collecting. Lot number 41, 1962. Farmall 560, diesel, wide front, unrestored original condition. Single-family ownership, 1979-2024. David recognized the serial number immediately, 18294D. The auction was held on a Saturday morning in late June at Walter's Shop Complex. David drove there alone. Didn't tell Ann, didn't tell Tyler, just needed to see it one more time. The Farmall sat in a field with 77 other tractors. Same faded red paint, same dented grille, same cracked seat, same worn steering wheel. Looked exactly like it did 8 years ago. Exactly like it did when his father drove it in 1996. The auctioneer started lot number 41 at $45,000, hit $60,000 in 12 seconds. David raised his card at $70,000. Another bidder went $75,000. David went $80,000, $85,000, $90,000. The other bidder went $95,000. David paused, then raised his card. $100,000. Silence. The other bidder shook his head. Sold $100,000 to bidder 206. David signed the paperwork, paid with a check from the farm account, the account that was now healthy enough to absorb it, hooked up his trailer, loaded the tractor himself. Tyler called when David was 20 miles from home. "Where are you?" "Coming back from an auction." "What did you buy?" "You'll see when I get there." David pulled into the farmyard at 2:15 p.m. Tyler was standing by the machine shed, saw the Farmall on the trailer, stopped walking, stared. "Is that the one Grandpa owned?" "Yeah." "The one you sold when I got hurt?" "Yeah." Tyler walked up to it slowly, put his hand on the same fender David had touched 8 years ago. Same cold steel, same pitted rust. "Why'd you buy it back?" David climbed down from the truck, looked at his son, 24 years old, healthy, full use of his left arm, standing there because of what this tractor had bought. "Because it paid for you." Tyler didn't say anything for a long moment. Then, "You paid the same price you sold it for." "I know. That's not good business." "No, but it's the right price." David backed the Farmall into the machine shed. Same corner it had occupied before Walter came 8 years ago. Same space, now empty and waiting. Ann came out from the house, saw the tractor, saw David positioning it carefully. "You bought it back?" "I did." She walked over, stood next to him, didn't ask why. Already understood. David pulled out the old gray tarp from storage, covered the Farmall, smoothed the edges down like he used to. Tyler stood watching. "We keeping it this time?" "Yeah, this time we're keeping it." David stepped back, looked at the covered shape in the corner. Some machines make you bigger. Some machines buy you time. That one did both. The summer work was waiting. The markets were shifting. The equipment payments were manageable now, but still real. But the Farmall was home, paid for twice, worth it both times, and it wasn't going anywhere again. The dealer pushed him to grow. But growth didn't save his son. Ownership did.